My guest today is Edward Fernandez, actual very inspirational story. A buddy of mine from high school days went from losing a shitload of weight and somehow turned weight loss into his first powerlifting meet that just went down at the Aggie Showdown out in College Station, Texas. I'm joined by one of his coaches, trainers, dietitians. One over here at the we're down here at the bar, San Angelo, Texas, the Bar Athletic Club. Tommy Yanu's unfortunately could not be with us. He's not feeling very well, but shout out to Tommy for giving us a place to work out and call home down here in San Angelo, Texas. Ed, what's going on, brother?
Oh, just got done training. Now just hanging out with two good friends of mine.
Starving, probably.
Yes.
Always. Yeah, always. Juan, how you feeling, brother?
Feeling good, same thing. Finished training.
Got
my post-workout meal in, so.
Oh, so you're not too bad then.
The only smart one.
They actually brought the meal in.
Yeah.
You have to, man. You have to. I mean, honestly, I know Evolution Meal Prep furnishes this place, and I wonder how bad it would be if Evolution Meal Prep literally was not right around the fucking corner, you know what I mean, post-workout. You're like, God, I'm sorry, but I don't want to cook. Yeah. And you're just like, hey, Tom, let me get a meal real quick. And then, boom. Come on, man.
Let me get a meal.
Nice. All right. And I know a little bit about you. I want you to kind of introduce yourself to everyone who's listening right now. One, I want you to do the same after Ed's done. So, who are you, Ed?
I am Edward Fernandez, born and raised here in San Angelo, man. Just kind of doing my thing. I don't know, just... I don't know.
Just say it. Just whatever you're... Who the fuck are you?
Who am I? Let's see. I like to train. I like to, I work at a GNC. I manage the GNC here in town. Musician.
Yeah.
Still play.
Still play to this day. To this day. Nice.
Other than that, man, father of two. Happily married for almost 6 years.
Damn. That's too long.
I don't know how she puts up with
I don't know how either. It's right there. And Juan, what's your story, brother?
All right, Juan Martinez, born and raised San Angelo, Texas. I actually own and operate the Diet Doc San Angelo, Texas, so nutrition consultant and one of the personal trainers here at the Bar Athletic Club. Pretty much how I got started, kind of something similar to Ed's story. Lost a lot of weight, got me very intrigued into how the body works, dedicated my undergraduate to exercise science. And then realized how important nutrition is to everything else. So definitely put some time in for nutrition, and when I met Ed, that's something I just kind of brought to the table for him. So.
Nice. So I mean, how did you guys actually meet? How did you two hook up with each other?
I would see him in the gym all the time. I was like, I want to lift like that guy. I want to look like that guy.
What was he doing that got you
just
deadlifted probably?
His consistency in the gym, man. Seeing him and I remember seeing him in high school, and I remember he was a bigger guy. So to see him and his transformation, I didn't know him personally, but I had seen him. I'm a people watcher like crazy. So, and I have a really good memory retention. So those kinds of things, I would see him, his change from high school to or at that point it was now, and just to see that he was able to make that change. I was intrigued. I wanted to ask him questions. Just one day, man, I was like, hey. Just got started from there. Yeah. All right.
Now, I mean, were you intimidated by the fact that he was so on point and consistent like that?
No,
or was it kind of like, hey man, I don't want to bother you type of thing, or was it like, hey man, what's going on? We went to high school together.
Well, as a person, I've never been one that's intimidated because I try not to intimidate people. So my mindset is I'm not trying to intimidate people, so people aren't trying to intimidate me. I'm just a friendly guy. You know me. So I just went up with, like I do anybody else that I've never met, just go introduce myself, and from there just got to talking, man.
Do people often come up to you when you're at the gym, just either pick your mind for advice or
they do now? Like I said, a little bit more than in the past. Like I said, just because. Like I said, when he first met me, like I said, that's when I was kind of just starting as far as the competing and the amateur bodybuilding and stuff like that. So I was very laser-like focused. So a lot of people wouldn't approach just because headphones in, hoodie up, gets training, and it's not that people, I don't mind talking to people. It's just that's how the focus was. And like I said, you can see, as the transformation came on. So like I said, I was over 300 pounds. I dropped down to single body fat percentage. So, I went through all that, and like I said, now, like I said, I'm more than welcome. I like to answer a lot of questions, just because of the fact that I was at that point myself. And then the thing is, too, nowadays, just with how things are, is it's very easy to get information mixed up.
No shit.
I'd rather give, even though, like I said, some of the information I have to give, I have to cut it short just because. I could talk to you all day about particular things.
Particularly, yeah. Right? So he basically talked to you all day about everything.
That's exactly what happened. I approached him, asked him questions, and we talked for a good hour. I want to say that first time. I felt bad. I was cutting into his training time, but at that point, that's when I realized Juan was a very approachable guy. Now that I think about it, you're talking about the intimidation factor. For me, it wasn't, but I had talked to people after the fact. They're like, "Oh, I don't want to bother him. He looks like." I don't want to piss him
serious.
Off. And I was like, no, dude, he's like one of the nicest guys you could talk to. And they're like, oh, So, yes, I could see from other people's standpoint how he was intimidating, but, I mean, he's literally one of the nicest guys you could
So you had dropped a lot of body weight in your run from where you were in high school to the point where you wanted to start amateur bodybuilding. Now, when you talked to him before you got on this weight loss journey, were you already convinced that you were ready for this type of shit, or were you just kind of getting information together?
It was a little bit of half and half. I was trying to just pick his brain because, obviously he knew what he was doing. Just seeing his transformation. But a lot of it had to do with having kids, man. Just the fact that, you always hear the story, I'm always too tired to play with kids. But, those are things you can change. It's like, how important is your family to you? Are you going to continue to sit on that couch, eat potato chips, and eat junk food your entire life, and keep putting it off and using the crutch that I'm just too tired? Well, I didn't want to make that excuse for myself anymore. My kids and my wife are more important to me, more than that. So I decided to make that change.
Okay, so your kids being born is what kind of put it in your head, like, okay, like I got to start doing something.
Yes, sir.
Is that? Was it like instant? Was it like your child was born and then you're like,
it was. She was born. She started getting, Dolly, my youngest. She is very, very active and from an early age. I guess with Sarah, that's the evolution that took place with Sarah, my older one. I was that guy that was like, I'm too tired. I'm just too tired. I'm just too tired. And then with Dolly is when I started to realize I got older, and I was like, you know what? Yes, I am tired, but it's not because of my work. It's not because of whatever reason I could come up with. It was me, my physiological state that I was in, just my body where it was at. That's what was holding me.
Did something happen? Like, did you try to play with her and you just got winded really bad, or you just couldn't keep up?
From the point of putting my shoes on, I was breathing heavy, to the point that I got up, I was breathing heavier, to the point I started playing with her for 5 minutes, I was heavy breathing.
Really? Yeah. Really? Did you feel kind of like? Because I don't have children, I have a niece, and when I take my niece out to the park, she's always like, well, no one takes me out, and I don't come from the most healthy family. But if I'm trying to put myself in your position at that point as a father and trying to play with your child, tell me if I'm wrong. Is it just, do you feel like you're just kind of failing her as a parent?
I felt super neglectful, man. Just because the fact, I didn't grow up like that. If we wanted to do stuff, my mom, she was very, go.
Yeah.
And my family wasn't healthy by any means. But she still made it happen. We still got out. We still did things, So I wasn't going to be... I had to measure up to where my mom and my dad, when he was around, but he didn't raise us. But he still made an attempt to take us out and do stuff. So I was determined to reach that same level. Not make excuses. My mom used to work 3 jobs and still would take us out to do stuff,
Yeah, so. And having that background right there, like, you can't really make an excuse out of that. So you basically felt if you didn't do something that you were basically neglecting your daughter as a father. Did it happen in that instant, or did it take some time for it to really sink into your mind that this was your time to do something?
It was that time with Dolly.
That Dolly? Okay. What did you do after you realized that?
I just So I told my wife, hey, we need to get back on this, and I need to get back training. Because, I've trained on and off through my life just because my brother was in sports, from a young age.
Yeah.
He had me training all, off and on here and there. And then, when I was younger, I used to go to when we had a Gold's Gym, I would train over there. And then, I kind of got away from it for a few years. And, that's another big thing that we, that I want to get into is the consistency. But, it was actually my birthday, the year that after Dolly was born. I asked Sam if I could get my membership back. It's now Heroes, and she did it for my birthday.
She did it for your birthday? Nice. Your wife is very supportive of that fact.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Yeah,
big time.
Absolutely.
Now, while you're in the training and nutritional field, and you've been doing this for how long?
Training and nutrition wise, I've always done clients here and there. Like I said, I come from an exercise science background through the university here, Angelo State. I've never was really fully committed. I always made some type of excuse of I was interested. Now commitment. So as far as commitment wise, fully trainer, taking nutrition and accepting clients, I would say about 2 years now. But I've always done it here and there. People. Just kind of a side thing, but like I said, about 2 years worth, where I'm actually, this is my job.
So right? do you often find that parents, at whatever age, come to you with the story of I feel like I can't really take care of my child or give my child the attention and to detail that I need to because of my weight or my physical activity level or whatever. Is that common?
Yeah, usually it's very common, wanting to be there for your children. It's I don't want to say motivator, but it creates a drive, creates more of a purpose for your children because of course now they're the most important thing in your life, apart from yourself. The other aspect though is that you believe it or not, yes, children are, like I said, a big motivator, a big drive for it, but it's also being comfortable with yourself is the big thing. They want to feel like and like I said, most people, it's high school days, they were in good shape because that's usually when you played all your sports, and then when you have a family, you kind of just stray away from being active. So they want to go back to how they felt high school days, energy wise. The image, stuff like that they saw in themselves. So, yes, children are a big part, but I would say the other aspect would be how they felt. Prior at some point in their life.
Now, can you recall a particular time where you had a client come to you and just give you this epic, I'm in serious need of help that you haven't heard up until that point?
I would say, like I said, because at that point it was off and on. Most of the people that I've dealt prior to that, because I would say I was selective, not meaning that I wasn't willing to take anyone else on, but most of my interests were athletes, right? So I was looking for the performance aspect, but it's actually at this one point, and it's actually one of my other really successful clients, along with Edward, and he's actually a friend, so he actually started out as a friend first and then became a client second. So Steve, he actually came to me and I saw him, and it was actually the same thing, children, right? His child is about to be born or had just been born. He was already in the same, we trained at that time, Heroes in the same area. We like I said, became familiar, good friends. And like I said, he was already on the path of losing weight. What happened is his child was about to be born. He actually gained all of that weight back and then some.
Really?
And so when he came to me, he approached me. He's like, "Hey man, I know you do nutrition. I know you do training." He's like, "I really need to get onto this." And just by saying those words doesn't really convey of how much the emotion you're talking about. It was in his eyes. The stare in his eyes was, you could see it, how bad he wanted it. The fire, the desire.
What exactly did you see? Whatever you looked at.
It's something, and it's weird. And like I said, I saw it similar with Ed. is I saw what I saw in myself when I decided to change. The same exact look, the same exact drive, I'm tired of this shit. Let's change. Like,
so
this is it.
You basically knew exactly where he was coming from without him having to say
because, it. Like I said, and that's kind of the thing is with some of my clients that I deal with. You know, you look at people and you're like, you judge your book by the cover because they'll see me and they're like, oh, he's in shape, right? But they never understood that I was at one point obese, and so I've done everything from being very obese to very super lean. So I've done everything in between. So I know what that feels like. So like I said, most people, most coaches won't understand. Like they may understand like the science and all that stuff, the training, the nutrition aspect of,
but to actually be in that
position, they may not have been that. And then so like I said, that's kind of the story particularly. And then you actually met Steve, so that was actually
I think I went to high school with Steve. I went to high school with Steve, and I have a really good. It's funny because unintentionally, obviously, there are 3 people in this room that have all been obese in the childhood state that actually got themselves out of it. Now, we all had that one part in common where we all got into a point where we had enough.
Yeah.
So I do want to touch back on that, but I want to go to Ed and I want to find out, you decide this is your time, you know it's your time, and you get this gym membership. What's your thought going from training, kind of training, kind of not, half in, half out, inconsistent? What were your thoughts going into the part where you actually started to become consistent with your training?
So, and even then, man, I'm going to use the word consistency lightly because it took a while to truly understand what consistency was. And Juan was a big role in that. So, going in, just like every other person starting out, man, you're introduced to this world. You think you have it all figured out. I'm going to lose weight. And what does everybody do? They engulf themselves in everything that they can imagine. Well, if the more that I do, if I do every exercise here, I'm going to experience results that much faster. So that's what I did. I did the very beginner mistake and was that guy. You know, I went in, oh man, I'm going to hit it from this angle today, and the next time I'll use this, or I'll use bench press with barbell today, and then I'll use dumbbells this time. When in actuality, man, it took me learning that, you know, if you have a gauge for progression, you know, that's where you're going to see your true change. And that's what inspires and motivates you even more. And I don't like using that word motivation because it's like we've talked about before, that's very temporary. You want to have that discipline, but that's what, you know, starts that discipline is you see that change consistently. You know, you're consistent, so your progress is consistent.
Yeah, depending on what you do.
Yeah.
But when you walk into the gym, I mean, was this your first time committing yourself to a huge gym where you may not know exactly what you want to do or how you're going to do it, but you're just going to go in there and get it done, kind of like you said. Now, were you scared? Were you intimidated? Were you nervous or anything like that?
Man, honestly, I was more excited than anything. Yeah, I was scared, you know, and I was I was a little nervous about it just because I knew in the past when I had, you know, done any kind of training, I wasn't as big as I was at that point. You know, a lot of people don't know I was 400 pounds when I started this.
Yeah.
400 pounds. And at that point, everything's hard. So yes, from that aspect, you know, you have to deal with muscle soreness, those kinds of things. Just you know, and I think we touched on it. You know, like the glory day kind of thing. You know, whenever I was used to doing exercise and I was feeling this way after it, to now where everything was a struggle. You know, that was a little bit disheartening, but I knew that I had to stay on this track.
So how did you get, I mean, I want to touch for that. What were you scared of going into this?
Scared of, man, not much.
Do you think
I guess failing?
You're afraid of failing?
Yeah.
You're afraid of failing more than anything?
Yeah.
More so just giving up or not?
Yeah, just because, I mean, that was the root of the problem in the beginning was, you know, whether it be like, because I had lost a considerable amount of weight. I'm not going to say it was crazy weight loss previous, like 3 years prior to that. It was enough to get people to be like, oh, you lost some weight.
Yeah.
And of course, when that happens, when you don't have the discipline, oh, well, I can skip today. People said I look good, so I can skip today. Oh, I can skip tomorrow. Oh, you know, I still look okay. That's what I was afraid of.
Really?
I was going to get complacent just like I did before.
Nice. That's interesting, because usually it's almost like your success would lead to your ultimate failure.
Yes.
In a way, if you don't keep that in check. Now, going into you get into these ruts where you're just nothing is going on, nothing's happening, you get disheartened. How it happens to everybody. I mean, it literally happens to everybody. Every single person is going to get disheartened, whether it's us, whether it's our clients or whatever. How do you get out of that? How do you not allow getting disheartened to ruin everything that you just worked for?
At this point in time, man, again, I'm going to go back to the fact of, you know, my children, man. That was the absolute end all for me, man. Like, you can sit here and make all the excuses, or I, can make all the excuses, but then I would always lead back to, okay. And it was something else I forgot to touch on earlier. You know, part of me growing up as a young adult, and then even as a child earlier on, my mom had colon cancer, and then my dad had a stroke. That was like in '95, and then he ended up having a heart attack and a quadruple bypass. So when you take those three things into account, and in my genetics, that's triple whammy right there, man. But the thing is, you have the stroke and the heart attack. Those two things I can control. To me, the way I feel about cancer, man, it's a crapshoot. You're either, you're going to throw the dice, you're either going to get it or you're not. There's things you can do to semi-prevent it, but it's, there's just so many things that we're exposed to, and, just modern lifestyle. It's so prevalent in society, not in the society, but just nowadays. It's just something where I have to deal with. So me not being able to control that factor, I told myself, at least these two things I can control. So that was what pulled me out of those ruts. I can control these. Let me do it. So
you basically felt that if you were in a physical means of control with, you can put effort to avoid the strokes, avoid the heart attacks, avoid the quadruple, whatever bypasses, that was enough for you to say, I can't give up because I can actually control this. The cancer is whatever. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. I can't. That's a little bit out of your control. So you're going through and you're pulling yourself out. When exactly do you get with Juan and say, look, I need your help?
Man, that was so long ago. Let me think. I would honestly just have to say it was on a whim, man.
It was on a whim?
Yeah. There was not like a definitive time when I was just like, okay, I see him here every day, I'm going to go talk to him. I think it was just one of those
kind of just happened, right?
Yeah.
It's coming up on 2 years now, right? April, I would say like April.
No, it's
maybe
longer than that, I think. A little bit longer. Is it? No, it is. Yeah. Because that's when I started.
Yeah, about April. Sometime in April. And like I said, I think we started training first together. And that's what happened. Like I said, friends first and then clients. We started training.
My back.
We started training, and then like I said, we when you talk gym talk, whatever, goals, things like that, programs, your little technical stuff. And then he starts I don't want to say complaining, but he starts mentioning the lack of results. So that, and that's where I come in, and I just ask questions. I know what we're doing in here, but when it comes to what's going on out there, and I think that's when he starts to reveal like some of his nutrition, some of his habits, and things like that. And then I kind of just kind of give him an understanding, which for him, I think most people, I would say probably 99% out of the people is once you start a diet, the first thing they do is cut out carbohydrates, which is pretty like a low carb kind of thing.
Low carb, the ketogenic diets and all that stuff.
Ketogenic, you're like, oh, I've heard sugar's bad, avoid bread, avoid all this and that or whatever. So he was telling me that he was doing this, and I was like, hey man, I want to say you're under eating. His calories are very low for how much he was training. But it's not saying that he wasn't eating enough, because if he was really eating that low of calories, his weight would have continued to come off. It's just that some of his other habits outside of that particular style of eating that he was doing was putting him off of getting any results.
Not getting where he wanted to go.
So I was like, I offered, and I was like, hey man, let me help you out with nutrition. We can keep training. We'll manage that there.
Yep.
And that's when we set up numbers, calories, macros. He was already familiar. Most people nowadays are familiar with if it fits your macros or the flexible dieting.
Flexible dieting
is usually what I like to use the term. Flexible dieting is, so, kind of just helped educate him a little bit more on that, and slowly started to get him familiar with how some of these things are. And then, like I said, Ed already, like you mentioned, took kind of, try to take as much information you can, and he'll slowly start to discuss some topics that he would maybe think, maybe some type of training, things like that. And then that's where we had to kind of build on that consistency factor. So not only was it, he was coming to the gym and kind of on a daily basis. We're doing our training, and I think at some point we split ways, and we were training separate times because work schedule, things like that. And we decided to, he would run his program by me. I would overlook it. Hey, man, this is a good program. If you like to, try it, go for it. And what ended up happening is that he wasn't as consistent with the training aspect at that point. He was coming in and doing the work, but as far as being result driven or looking for results, then, like he's mentioning earlier, having a gauge of progress. Now, if we're constantly changing something, how do we know something's working?
Exactly.
So that's kind of the thing, is that I kind of focus, and I want to say drilled on him about it. It's just that if you're, like I said, if you're not consistent and you're not, gauging or taking a look, evaluating, is we can't really see what's going on.
Exactly.
I think that's what a lot of people do too. Is they think if I walk in the store and I do some work, I'm going to have some results. If you're just beginning, just starting out, of course.
Oh yeah. If you do,
because it's a new stimulus.
Whatever you do, just starting out from a bare baseline, you're going to get some results out of it because it's an immediate change in your body. The problem is learning your body enough to where it plateaus, and you know exactly how to break out of that plateau. Which in your case, it's consistently changing on a consistent schedule. And I think you referred to 6 months being Ed's more so consistent schedule of change, or so.
Yeah.
So when you had Ed approach you, I mean, I imagine you get approached a lot by guys who are just, or guys or women who are just like, I want to change, I want to do this, I want to do that. How many people are approaching you, let's say on a monthly basis, saying, I want to do this, I want to do that, and just aren't serious, don't even show up, or just completely fall off?
And I would honestly say, through social media, or at work, because he manages a GNC, I manage the other one in town here as well. So like I said, they know me through the gyms, things like that. Man, on a monthly basis, like I guess we would just put inquiries through like email, social media. I would say easily 2 to 3 dozen people, right? On
a monthly basis, 2 to 3 dozen people. Yeah. How many of these people actually follow through?
Man, I'll honestly say 2 to 3.
2 to 3.
Yeah, we'll follow through.
I'll even up that number to tell you how many people I come into my store asking and talking about nutrition and stuff like that, and I'll refer them to Juan. Hey, here's his number. Hey, here's his card. Give this dude a call. He's helped me. Here's my, this is what I look like. This is what I look like now. And still, I mean, there's been quite a few that come in and I refer to him,
and it's just out there like, what? Now I have my opinion of why I think that is out of all the years that I've been a trainer, but I'm curious to know from your perspective, being the trainer and the nutritionalist and literally knee deep in the lifestyle, in your opinion, getting into this now, why do you think that is? Why do you think people will say it, but when it comes time to put up or shut up, over half of them shut up?
Because nobody wants to step outside of their comfort zone. Everybody wants to continue what they're doing and change the bare minimum and expect the biggest results that you can. And that's just not the way it works, man.
Yeah. Nobody likes to be uncomfortable. That's the one thing. So that's the reason we stay where we're at, whether it be in training, nutrition, your life. Being uncomfortable is going to get us to places that we want to actually be in. We just don't realize it. like he's touched on, is people want to do the least amount of work and get the most amount of results. The other aspect is it sounds good when you say it. It sounds good. There's actually a lot of things, I read a crap ton, and look into a lot of stuff is, and it may have happened to you, it may have happened to us. When you talk about something, maybe for you, a new project, and say you just talk about it, it excites you, right? So at that point, for some people, even just talking about it, it's good enough for them that it excites them, that they feel they've already done it, right? That they've already taken a step in the right direction by just talking, telling their friends, hey, I'm going to get with this trainer. Hey, I'm going to reach out to him. Hey, I want to start this at work. Hey, I want to start, for you, blog, podcast. Hey, I want to, take this many clients on. It excites you, and it gives you a sense of like, hey, I accomplished something.
Like immediate gratification.
Yeah, like in reality, you haven't accomplished anything. So with that, like I said, by people just reaching out to me, they think they've already started something. Now, so the biggest thing that's actually going to get them to continue with is not necessarily saying that they're unhappy, but is be willing to accept change, is knowing that the place that they're at is not where they want to be,